The No New Friends podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. For the best in below-the-waist grooming, visit manscaped.com. Use promo code NNF for 20% off. That is manscaped.com.
Broadcasting from the Sandpiper Vacation Studios, it's time for the No New Friends podcast. The podcast for adults who love to laugh at adulting, the good, the bad, and the funny.
Okay, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's showtime. It's showtime.
That's right. You're listening to the No New Friends podcast, voted number 1 by our friends and family. We are the podcast for adults who love to laugh at adulting. If you'd like to connect with us on all of our social media, all of our links are right there on our website, nonewfriendspodcast.com. While you're there, you can check out our really sweet merchandise, and you can also join our clubhouse. Become a friend with benefits. Watch these things as we're recording them live for as low as $2 a month. Also, very important season for us. Don't forget to vote for us at vote.orlandoweekly.com under the category Local Notables for Best Local Podcast. And as Chris would say, you can throw me a vote for Best Local Radio Voice, Scott Maffei. My name's Scott. I am the host, and we've got a little bit different week going on. Nobody was available to record because I was out of town. Chris is in Germany. So we've got a ton of really cool things in store for you tonight. But to introduce those really cool things, I brought in 2 of our regular contributors. You know them as Game Master Ryan, who brings us Jersey Man, Florida Man every week. Ryan, how you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We also have the Sophisticated Gentleman. Mr. Gentleman, how are you this evening?
This is incredible. I can't believe I'm in a call with a finalist for Best Local Radio Voice.
I know. I know that a lot of you at home have recordings of me. You listen to it when you, and
I don't. No.
No.
I used to just scare off the kids in my yard.
See, I just figured that the light shines off Scott's head perfectly to just hit the airplane kind of as a signal device.
Like the bat signal.
Right,
exactly.
right.
The bald signal.
The bald signal. Oh, I love that. Chris, t-shirt idea, the bald signal. Speaking of airplanes, we've got some amazing content that's gonna be coming to you next week. I've got to recap my DC trip, and I've got like 3 pages of content, and then Chris is going to be recapping his Germany trip. So a lot of trip recapping next week.
That's not next week. If Clarisse is recapping, that wouldn't be next week because they're going to cue this upcoming.
So in 2 weeks, yeah, that's right, because you guys are hosting with me next week.
Yeah, keep it straight.
Hey, it is Pride Month.
It's still Pride Month.
Yes, happy Pride Month, everybody. Guys, it's all jumbled up in my head. Here we are on a Friday doing this little bit, and we usually record on Wednesdays. I was editing today. My week is all messed up because of this trip, which I can't wait to tell everybody about. All right, well, we real quick, we've got a call from you, Sophisticated Gentleman. We've got a call from the Sophisticated Gentleman, and if you'd like to call us. Well, I don't have the phone number on me.
I can get it real quick.
Right. Okay.
I have it in my recently called.
You don't have it in your speed dial already.
You can go ahead and call 407-906-0543.
Yeah, and I want to put together a little bit of a compilation thing where, you just drop little 5-second, sound bites or whatever. So give us a call and do that. And we've got some more things planned in the future for that phone number. But here we go, the Sophisticated Gentleman.
I've finally made it. Philadelphia, the city of angels. It's of course referred to as that because of all the crime and deaths here. As Chris loves to remind us, he was a history major in college, which explains why he's starting to look so much like Winston Churchill and Ben Franklin. With that in mind, I thought he'd be here at Independence Hall, but once again, no dice. Being here reminds me of the cinematic masterpiece National Treasure, though. Nicolas Cage is without a doubt a better actor than Scott and Mary were during that improv episode, and Nicolas Cage ventures to this very spot in the film. While I'm here, I kind of want to see if I can find some of the clues that Nick found in the movie. I'd certainly say that he will rise. Perhaps I'll finally be able to confirm how all those UFOs are actually time machines. I'm just going to hop over this rope here. Of course, if Chris was here, he could just walk under the rope with no issues. We'll head up these stairs and onto the roof. Oh my god, I'm higher than Mary after a tutoring session. There's a shadow resting on this brick here. If only Chris was here now, I'm sure he'd be playing with some sharp object that I could use to pry this free. Maybe I can use a devil chant to free this.
I'm just a kid who's 4. Each day I want some more. I like exploring. I'm Caillou. So many things to do. Each day is something new. I'll share them with you. I'm Caillou.
That seems to have done the trick. There's some kind of a box in here. Let me try to open it. Seems like there's a message in here.
Attention. If you or a loved one was diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
I wonder what that could mean. Hold on, there's something behind it. Oh my god, is there a person inside this structure? Sir, are you okay?
Hi, we'd like to talk to you about the Word of God.
They appear when you least expect it. Where's a door to slam when I need it? Oh my god, I'm losing my footing. Oh no, Scott's running over here. Scott, that was the Liberty Bell, not the Taco Bell. Maybe if I throw this chipped golf ball near him, it will distract him away. We don't want another crack in the bell after all. Well, seems like this location was yet another bust. Maybe I'll have to follow in Rocky Balboa's steps and do some training around the city. After all, I heard the art museum here is gorgeous. Why did you steal the Mona Lisa?
Another great call. You're getting very close, I feel, to Chris.
Yes, indeed. Seems like things are going to be taking a turn for the worst, so we'll have to see what happens next week.
I love this series, and I can't wait for more. Sophisticated Gentleman, you put together some really cool clips that we're going to hear a little bit later in the show. Some of our best of on other podcasts. You got it done super quick, which is what my wife says all the time. How much fun was it to find those clips? Because I enjoyed listening to them.
It was entertaining, that's for sure. I mean, I've, as you know, listened to nearly every episode of every podcast in the Creators Club. I've been doing this research for years, slowly lurking behind the scenes to try to determine what makes the perfect podcast. And then I happened to find no new friends. So
we have
it
to
was
turn
very
around to some other
entertaining trying to
podcasts.
relive those memories.
Right. And some of the inside jokes that go on in Creators Club or this thing are probably making a lot more sense because you did the whole multiverse of podcasts.
Absolutely. I mean, it was kind of like all these worlds are colliding now, right? It's kind of like, oh, we've got the Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man now with the Tom Holland Spider-Man, except the Tom Holland Spider-Man is Chris. And, on Diz I don't know where I'm going with this, but...
But I get it. And like the Creators Club is the saddest version of the Avengers ever, where we all come together and try to teach people how to podcast.
I thought the saddest version of the Avengers was that popsicle that you got. But that's
I do love my Avengers popsicles. And it was really cool. You found a clip of me on Real Laughs where I actually get to talk because I don't often get to talk. I get interrupted a lot because I'm not that funny. So that was fun to hear that one.
I did go through about 4 or 5 clips from Real Laughs to find that one, but when I did find that one, it was absolute gold.
It was gold. I talk about my days as a mascot. Now,
don't spoil it. Don't spoil it for the audience.
Okay, Alex, cut that out. So, also in this episode, we've got our interview with Carl Gottleib, and Carl Gottleib was the screenwriter for Jaws. You guys got to watch that interview. Thoughts on that interview? What do the listeners have to look forward to?
We say it all,
You
don't we?
should take this one. I have talked enough.
Well, listen, it's a fantastic interview with the writers of one of my favorite movies. Jaws is so important to me. The guy's 85 years old, so he's got some stories to tell us. But listen, it was the interview was a lot of fun. It was a big thrill for me, and I can't wait for everybody to hear that. And then on Wednesday, which we'll talk about on Wednesday, but Wednesday we've got Eddie Deason. And if you don't know who Eddie Deason is, you actually do know who Eddie Deason is. He's wow. You actually do know who Eddie Deason is. He's done so many character voiceovers. He was the know-it-all kid in Polar Express. He was Eugene in Grease. And we didn't even know how cool this guy was. Some of his stories are unbelievable. But we'll talk about that more on Wednesday. So Game Master Ryan, I want to ask you, you do our Jersey Man, Florida Man every week.
Yep. I do, yes.
So take me through your process when you're writing the I'm in the New Friends newsroom located this week, and then you go on this 2-minute rant, which is always gold. Take me through your process on that.
Typically, I wait till the episode comes out, and I'll listen to it at work. And I just jot down funny things. It just It really just comes to me. It's every once in a while I have an idea that I've had an idea for a couple weeks and then kind of work on it through that. And then you guys say something on there that makes sense to push it into that. Or I just think of a joke and just find a funny place to put it.
Yeah,
That's always the fun part of it.
It's funny, and those of our Patreon members have seen Sophisticated Gentleman's Wheel of NNF jokes. Yes. Because, we essentially tell the same jokes just in a different way. And, it's still always funny. But Ryan, what's so funny is when you deliver a joke and we've talked about that same thing in that episode without even knowing, because I don't pre-listen. I want to be surprised. I want my reactions to be genuine. And obviously I don't want to cheat at the game.
That happens a lot.
It does.
I'm not a clairvoyant, but I might set up a phone line for it and be the next, what was her name? Miss Cleo, or Jerry McDaniel. Or Jerry McDaniel, that's fine.
I don't know who that is. He's the guy from the St. Augustine Ghost Tour.
No, that's Scott York. That's Scott York. Jerry McDaniel was on the episode I See Dead People.
Oh, good job, Ryan.
Good job.
I'm getting old. My memory's not what it used to be.
Oh, yeah. Sophisticated gentleman. Oh, God.
Jesus Christ.
Turning into, you've got the beard already.
I'm getting fat right now.
All right, so let's get into these clips. But before we go to break, Sophisticated Gentleman, what can you tell us about all these clips?
The clips that I compiled, I tried to show a wide spectrum of the No New Friends. So the first clip that you'll hear, and I'll give some context on this, is actually from the very first time that Scott and Mary met Chris. And these clips go all the way up into the most recent episode of Remy's Roundtable at the time of recording. So they span a pretty wide variety of years, and you'll hear all four of the host of No New Friends. So it's a very fun listen with a lot of variety.
Yeah, some of the clips are a little bit longer, but they are worth every second of it because there's a build up there, especially the last clip, because there's two really good jokes in there, and Game Master Ryan even referenced one of them in his Jersey Man, Florida Man last week. So, all right, without further ado, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we've got the best of clips from other podcasts we've been on, followed by our interview with the screenwriter of Jaws, Carl Gottleib. You're listening to the New Friends Podcast. We'll be right back.
There are three things that I hate in life: taxes, nausea, and booking vacations. The first two I'm stuck with, but for the third, I use Sandpiper Vacations. Sandpiper Vacations is a small business that is LGBTQ+ owned and operated with travel advisors all over the country. Whether it's a cruise, a trip to a theme park, or an all-inclusive resort, Sandpiper has you covered. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it's free. Why book a vacation when you can have someone else do it for you? That's like choosing to take the stairs in a building that has an elevator. Leave the headaches of booking a vacation to someone else. Get your quote today at www.sandpipervacations.com and tell them that the No New Friends podcast sent you.
Hey everybody, why don't you give the old Black Lincoln Collective podcast a listen? We're funny, we're fat, and we're here 24/7 at blcpodcast.com. Anytime you want to listen, anywhere, all your favorite podcast apps. Of course, we have a YouTube channel where you can stream live with the show. Check out our shorts. We're funnier the less you hear of us. That's been a Black Lincoln Collective podcast at blcpodcast.com.
Hi, this is Jeremy Miller from Growing Pains, and you're watching the No New Friends podcast.
Welcome back to the No New Friends podcast. As Scott likely reminded you at the beginning of the episode, the No New Friends podcast is a finalist for Orlando Weekly's Best Local Podcast. And keep in mind that Mr. Scott Maffei is a finalist for Best Local Radio Voice. So head over to Orlando Weekly's website to vote there. You're probably noticing that I am not Scott Maffei. I am, in fact, the Sophisticated Gentleman. And Scott asked me to bring you some classic clips from other shows for the No New Friends hosts history. So I've got a few different clips here. I'll be popping in between the clips to offer up some context. But without further ado, let's head into our first clip. So to start us off, I wanted to have the clip from an episode where Mary and Scott first originally were introduced to Chris. So this was during the Diz Journey podcast, which was part of Remy's Roundtable. So you'll hear a bit of the Podfather himself in this first clip here. This comes from the episode, Who is This Peter Frampton? And Remy was talking about a unique musician, to which Mary had a bit of a response. So without further ado, here's our first clip.
Okay, so fun story really quickly about that background song. So when I was in college, I used to drive a bright yellow Volkswagen Beetle. I know that's really hard to imagine for you guys. Like, it's not fitting at all. But when I first bought it, I didn't know how to operate it very well. And I was driving with my high beams on. And I got pulled over for gang activity. And the best part is that I had Sarah McLachlan playing in the background. I was like, am I going to shoot him with my bubble gun? But the best part also is that I was super drunk and didn't I should not have been driving at all.
And here on Remy's Roundtable, we do not
No, not at all.
drinking and driving.
Look, here's the thing. I was driving like a 0.25 mile radius.
He's playing the song in the background. We do condone drinking and driving if it's within a 2.5 meter.
It was
radius. There you go, radius. That's fine.
It was a small.
I condone it.
I was 18 at the time. I didn't know what I was.
See,
I literally did have Sarah McLachlan playing, and I rolled down the windows. But the cop was very nice. He showed me how to work my car because his daughter had the same car, and then he helped me drive home.
I think the weirdest thing about all this was that you were listening to Sarah McLachlan.
I know, right?
We just casually turns on Sarah McLachlan.
All right, guys.
Listen, if you were to listen to my iTunes, you would think I was a sociopath, okay? It goes from Pantera to Sarah McLachlan in 2.5 seconds. I don't know.
And these are the fun times that we have on the No New Friends podcast.
Continue on, Remy, please. Take your show back over. Good God.
All right.
Thank you, Podfather Remy. Now, in that clip, Mary did mention her high beams were on. I'm sure that wasn't the only high thing that night. Now we head over to Dane Interviews, which is the subsidiary YouTube channel from Dane, the creator of Big Beautiful Diz. Now, this is actually from the first ever episode of Dane Interviews, episode 14, Scott and Chris from the No New Friends podcast. Without further ado, let's get into our clip from Dane Interviews.
Where did your love of broadcasting start?
Ooh, that's a great question. No one's ever asked me that. And that's probably because this is my first interview.
It's what Dane Interviews is all about.
I always loved making people laugh. My whole life, I just always loved making people laugh, and I always loved entertaining people. Never told this story before, but my best friend and I back in 6th grade started a YouTube channel, which is still on YouTube today. And
what's the channel name? Come on, what is the channel name? What's the channel name? Come on.
C and A Movies.
C and A Movies. Okay.
C and A Movies.
I have to save this right now so I can put up a clip. People watching on YouTube, you're seeing that's little Chris, if I can find it.
And this was in 6th grade, and the first ever video, I remember it vividly, it's called Poor People. And me and my friend just play a father and son who are poor and can't afford things. And we literally made up that video on the way back from we went to Eagles training camp with my dad that day, and on the way back we thought of making YouTube videos. And that created my love for creating content. I edited all the videos on Windows Movie Maker. Attack of the Dolls, I think, is my favorite video that I made. And I would create all the stories, and he would help, and we would just create these stories. And we would just create these skits together. And I grew up with the generation of YouTube that it was when YouTube first came out. So we thought it was the coolest thing to be able to publish our videos to YouTube. And the only music that I had on my computer were Michael Jackson songs. So I think the theme song and a lot of the things are just to Michael Jackson songs. I remember Poor People, I think, as Billie Jean in the intro.
Anger management.
Oh, the anger management. Oh my gosh, anger management. I remember vividly too. I was the person with anger issues.
Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon theme song. Yeah.
I love the way you conjugate.
Okay. Wow, Dane, you're really, I mean, with the assist of Scott diving deep into my memories. So Dane, your answer to when did I find my love of broadcasting? Probably 6th grade, and it followed me throughout high school. I took on an amateur rap career in high school, and I love the way you conjugate. I loved performing, Dane. And I was not good at school. So how do you combine those two to get good grades? I went to my Spanish teacher. I was like, hey, if I write a rap, can I get extra credit? So I'm very good at writing songs. No one knows this, but I love writing music. I don't do it anymore, but like parody music. And I would write songs for extra credit for my class. And I love the way you conjugate. I still know every word, I think, because I just remember rhymes very easily. That was an extra credit project. I ran for vice president of my class, me and my friend, and I did not give speeches. I sang songs, and I am not a good singer, but I sang songs for the rendition of Michael Jackson and stuff like that. And it's just, I've always loved to perform, and it came from an early age. So kind of getting this outlet of being able to be on a podcast each week has definitely fulfilled one of my wants in life.
Sorry, I can't stop laughing. I'm watching. I love the way you conjugate right now.
Yeah, I wrote all that. I would write the choruses for my friend to sing. And then I have videos of me performing in my Spanish class. Wow, I honestly forgot a lot about this stuff.
So, Chris, we're definitely gonna have to post this to Patreon.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Because I have found I've got to look for it, but I have original recordings when I did an internet radio station back early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Like we actually went to a studio, and it was like a 3-hour show. But that's before podcasting. And you could do 3-hour radio shows because that's what it was.
Right.
And it was this little internet radio station that it was KMAX.com. KMAXAM.com is what it was. It played on one station in California. It's 5:50 a.m. In California. So you could only hear it between two hills in California. But I thought I was Howard Stern, and I mean, I don't even know if I could play some of it with the female co-host that we had.
So
really bad.
Now that you have opened this memory, Dane, it wasn't CNA movies. That was not that is not when I found my love for entertaining. It was actually 15 years ago. It's Yob Productions is the YouTube channel.
Okay.
And it's me and my sister from 15 years ago. And do you guys, I mean, you know who Fred is from YouTube, right? With the high-pitched voice?
Yeah, high-pitched voice, yeah.
So Fred was very popular, right? So I talked like this the whole video. So that when I sped it up, it sounded normal, but high-pitched. I did not know how to upload videos, so I edited it on from iMovie. So I edited it on iMovie, and then I took my camera and recorded my computer screen, and that is Yob Regular Day on YouTube. Yeah, it was a different time. That's 15 years ago. You're talking. That was, what was that? 2008.
Kudos to you, Chris. You have 213 views on this.
I don't know how. I know.
Yob Regular Day. And,
and the aspect ratio is like an old TV.
It's definitely something that you would watch on the news after your murder.
So there you have it, Yob Productions. Now, it is interesting because Chris mentioned he remembered all the words to I Love the Way You Conjugate, yet somehow he couldn't remember to meet up with Dane when he went to the Renaissance Fair. Now we're going to be heading to the Nerd Archives podcast, and we'll be starting off with actually Sarah's first appearance on the Nerd Archive podcast. So in this episode, Lewis and Lola and Sarah were discussing their time hanging out and playing some board games during Hurricane Ian. So without further ado, here's a clip from episode 21 of the Nerd Archive podcast, TV shows and a bleep show.
During the hurricane, we had a little game of Monopoly.
Ooh.
That's kind of wrong. And the game of Monopoly was the Avengers edition.
Okay.
And instead of buying avenues and streets and things like that, you recruit the Avenger that's on that square or in that rectangle.
Interesting.
Yes, very interesting.
It's really good, but be prepared to lose some friendship over it.
Yeah, I was about to say that sounds like a friendship ender.
So,
it was.
I was collecting left and right this side street, and I collected Wong, the Sorcerer Supreme, and I was very, very close to getting Doctor Strange, which is the one that I needed. And my wife decided that she was going to land on him and recruit him.
Okay, so actually, basically, where Doctor Strange and Wong and that strip is right before you hit go. So the equivalent is like Park Ave, the boardwalk. So very expensive properties. So had he gotten Doctor Strange, he would have had the entirety of that color, and he would have annihilated all of us with we were going to be broke. So basically I was looking out for myself, and I was looking out for you, Paula. So you remember that.
You know what? You say that, but then you bought Winter Soldier and cost me a lot of money. So
okay, she never informed me that she wanted Winter Soldier.
No, I did. As soon as the game opened, I said, "Hey, I want Winter Soldier," and she's like, "Nah."
I'm so sorry. Were there shots involved or something like that?
There was a bottle of tequila open. At some point or another during this game.
But he got me back because I wanted the strip, the very inexpensive strip, might I add, that involved Spider-Man, and I needed the Wasp, and he decided to just steal that from underneath me. So he's smiling, but it wasn't pretty at the moment.
And mine was on purpose. I landed on that, and I looked at her, and I smiled, and I said, because she was the bank. So I smiled at her, and I handed her the money, even though I had barely any money.
Oh, no.
But it was worth it. It was worth it.
I'm pretty sure that you got a reversal on some of your cards just so you could get the money to screw me over.
But it worked.
True vengeance right there.
It's the Avengers, not the Prevengers.
Do our best work after the fact.
Monopoly Wars.
Yeah. Dude, they should make that a show, or we can make that a segment at some point.
At some point? You mean like 4 episodes?
Before the band breaks up? Because we're angry at each other?
Listen, that 4 episode is going to be like when Frieza and Goku are fighting.
Now, Sarah did buy the Winter Soldier during that game of Monopoly. I'm sure it was a better purchase than the empanadas from that food truck. For our second clip from the Nerd Archive podcast, we'll be heading to episode 15, Nerd Rumors and Speculation. Now, Chris Yob was a guest on this episode, and we'll be joining our clip during a part of the episode where Lewis started talking about anime, and Chris had some interesting opinions on anime, and that led into one of his favorite topics of discussion.
To me, that's more important, because you don't want to be better than the next person. You want to be better than yourself.
Yeah.
So that's and a little motivational speaking for you guys.
Yeah, I might get that tattooed on me, actually.
You should. You should.
Good quote. I like that.
I like it. I like it.
So I guess if Pokemon is an anime, I have watched anime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. So, talking about that, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
What is your obsession with Pokemon cards now, because I remember an episode on No New Friends podcast.
Yes.
Which obviously you are one of the co-hosts.
Yes.
You said that you weren't into them, and all of a sudden you got obsessed.
Yeah.
What happened?
So when I was younger, just like everybody else, into Pokemon, I had a lot of the base set and Fossil and Jungle and stuff like that. No idea where they are. They have to be in my attic. I'm a hoarder, so I have like 40 boxes in my parents' attic of all my old stuff. So it's got to be up there somewhere, but I don't know where it is, which really pisses me off, because when I'm watching these now, these YouTubers, and they're saying, "Oh wow, this card, first edition's worth this much." I know I have that somewhere. But anyway, so I got addicted to watching. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, my wife was out for the night. So I was drinking, watching Pokemon unboxings on YouTube, and I was watching this guy named PokeRev, and he'd have like 3 hours.
I follow him.
Okay,
Yep.
he actually lives near me, so like the places he goes to, I'm starting to try to track down to go to as well. So I was literally like, Emily came home. And I was like 3 hours deep into watching these unpackings, I guess you'd say, these open up booster packs. And I was like, man, I would love to get back into this. So I couldn't even tell you when I bought my first pack. I think I bought maybe an Elite Trainer box, open up the packs. I just can't stop buying them now. And I just started a couple months ago. I just, got back into, I have thousands and thousands and thousands of these cards now. When I was younger, I had to wait for them for Christmas, for my birthday. Now that I make my own money, it's like I can just go out and buy
Adult
them.
money.
Yeah, adult. So it's like, am I in crippling credit card debt? Yes, but I'm having so much fun getting to that
That's
low
the best
point.
part.
So my desk always has cards on it now because I'm always organizing. I just got in the mail today. I got I went and I bought an iconic mystery box. It's been $130 to try to get a vintage pack. Spoiler alert, didn't get one. And I opened that mystery box up right after I got back from McDonald's, because McDonald's has the Pokemon cards right now. Down 4 Happy Meals by myself.
Yeah,
and
just to get cards.
Just to get cards. Yeah, it's a healthy but unhealthy obsession. It's healthy because it's not drugs, but it's not healthy for my wallet. And probably my marriage, but that's okay, because she only knows I only show her half the cards I buy.
Yeah, and it's unhealthy because you go to McDonald's.
Yeah, that's half my diet. It's what's prevented me from getting COVID. I'm sold on that, because it's there's something in it, man. I'm telling you. But
it's that and the fact that you do podcasts with Floridians, because we don't believe in that.
Yeah, see, so it's through the waves. The Pokemon cards are so nostalgic, man, because like even just the smell of them just brings me back to my childhood, just because they have that smell. It is getting bad, because now I found that Yu-Gi-Oh did a reprint of their original, so I bought a pack I bought a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I have no idea what I pulled, don't know any of the names. And now it's getting bad. Now I'm gonna have to start looking for Digimon, I guess. But I'm coping with the fact that I'm just gonna have a lot of paper investment. I'm gonna call them investments.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If that helps you sleep at night, it's fine.
Well, I suppose the good news about all those cards Chris is buying is that he won't have to worry about all the room for them. He'll probably spill wine on half of them. Now, for our final clip from the Nerd Archive podcast, we'll be hearing from Scott Maffei when he was guest on episode 31, Happy New Year's and Drinking Around the Universe. There's not too much to say about this clip, except that we'll learn that Scott might not love endangered species as much as we think. Here's our next clip.
Once I saw that you guys had video, and that's all the way from episode 1, I put it on my dash. Right. And I don't know why I felt like I needed to watch the podcast, but I'm driving to and from work watching the podcast. I've run over 8 squirrels, 3 raccoons, and a damn deer So yeah, so I have to catch it in bits and pieces, but and maybe I should stop watching it on Spotify and like listen to it on like Apple or something else, so that I'm not tempted to look at the video.
Or you can just close the screen.
See, but I know it's there. Like if it's there, then I know I need to know that it's not there and not an option to me.
I got you.
Yeah, I love.
Yeah, but who the hell cares about wildlife anyway?
Right. We're overpopulated anyway. And listen, the faster the sea turtles go extinct, the faster we can get back to plastic straws. Okay. I'm tired of sucking soda out of a tampon applicator. Okay. Let's just say goodbye to the sea turtles and let's get back to plastic the way that God intended us to consume sodas.
This is gonna go on social media, brother. It's just gold.
It has to, and I love this because this is the exact thing he was talking about on the last episode of No New Friends. It was fucking amazing.
Did I do that on No New Friends, or did I do that on Remy's Roundtable? I think that was on Remy's Roundtable. I don't remember. Now I don't remember. Because I don't remember. I may have got, because I go through that rant all the time.
That's what happens when you say the same joke on 3 different podcasts.
I say the same joke because it's funny, goddammit. Okay, and I get an equal laugh on every time I say it. Okay, so I'm going to say it until you all stop laughing at it. But Justin, that was a perfect setup because I knew where you were going, and you set it up brilliantly. You are a brilliant improv, sir. Bravo, and that's why you have the sexiest voice in podcasting. By the way, putting that out there.
For our next clip, we'll be headed over to Real Laughs from the episode Mascot Scott. Within this episode, they were talking about high school reunions, and Scott had a few memories to share.
God, have you been to any of your high school reunions?
Every single one. Every single one.
Really? Yes.
Yeah. And I say every single one. That's only 2 of them, my 10-year and my 20-year, but absolutely.
Gotcha. Do you have a good time? Is it fun catching up with people, or is it annoying?
Yeah, no, it is. It's a blast. And I was pretty popular in high school. So, it's good to see everybody. It's good to kind of talk about the fun stories that I did, spray painting my car, being the mascot, doing all sorts of fun stuff in high school. So it's fun to relive those glory days. And
you were the party guy, were you not?
I was Mr. School Spirit. That's what. Wow. I was the guy.
You were that guy.
Cool kid in your school?
Yeah. Well,
I don't remember it being like that, but maybe I'm just old. I remember the mascot was the guy who was also head of the photo book every year. So,
they realized it my senior year. I got to ride the bus with the cheerleaders, so that was kind of cool.
He's like, men weren't allowed to be on the cheerleading team till I petitioned to it. I changed the way.
Right. You're welcome.
Yeah.
So if
Fox in the hen house, I don't like it.
Oh, so you were the school mascot, Scott. That says a lot about you, man. All right. And what was your mascot?
Are you surprised? We were a hornet. Actually,
a hornet.
At the time, the costume was so bad it just looked like a gay bee. But yeah, we were the Hornets. They've since gotten an upgrade, but that was back in 1998. It was a pretty bad looking costume.
So was it like a yellow bubble butt with a big stick sticking out the back of it?
It was like a bumblebee. It was sleeveless, so I had to wear a sweatshirt underneath, and it was like shorts. So I had sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Yeah, it was a really weird costume. I think it was
reeks of popularity, the ladies going, "Hey, that's my guy."
No, not the guy playing football. The guy behind him doing the cartwheels. That's the guy.
Yeah, my high school, we were ahead of Glee, man. We accepted things way before Glee came along.
That's how you know you're making it your school. We're better than Glee. That's the whole pitch. God damn it, Scott. Oh man, I did not have a lot of school spirit. I played sports, but I wasn't one of the guys who drank the Kool-Aid. Like I wasn't totally into school rivalries or anything like that. I was this kind of guy that got along with everybody, really was no enemy of no one, but I didn't have the school spirit like you. I love you, Scott, but God bless you, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, we had 200 kids in the school, so
it was a small school.
It was 1,000 total, but 200 in our graduating class.
Gotcha.
So everyone was on the football team. Then it was
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Except for me, I was the mascot.
Yeah.
And they even put you in for a couple of plays. Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Toward the end. So we're down by 37. This can't get any worse. Let's put in the gay B. Where's Maffei?
Hey, spirit fingers on 3. Break.
and jazz hands.
Yeah, no,
Holy crap.
Now, hold on. I'm a math guy, so I'm doing the math here. You had 200 people in your class. That means there are maybe 100 men and 100 women, if we can break it up that way. So basically, everyone had to make everything you tried out for, because there just weren't people.
you're not wrong, Jeff. You're not wrong.
Now, were you a mascot for all 4 years? Was this something you worked your butt off to do as a senior?
It's not something that I necessarily worked my butt off, but it just kind of fell into my lap because they said, "Oh, you've got so much school spirit. Why don't you be the mascot?" And they said, "And you get to ride the bus with the cheerleaders." And I said, "Oh, okay. Sounds good."
I understand.
So was there a tryout, or did
No, they just gave it to me.
Nobody was laughing.
Exactly. Nobody wanted to do it. Everybody else was on the football team, Jeff. So
They had
I was
five guys, but you were the only one the costume fit. So congratulations, you have it.
You got the job, kid. That's excellent.
Now, not me, but I have to do the math behind this. I mean, you're running around, you're sweating in this costume. Do you change with the football players, or do you change in the, where the women are doing their business?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't really recognized as an official club or sport myself. They just let me tag along. So I had to wear those sweaty sweatpants, and I'm just the entire bus ride. So it was awful.
Gotcha. Oh, that's so funny. Now, when you go back to your high school reunion, do people remember that you were the mascot? Are you known for that?
No, they don't really talk about the mascot so much as the fact that I spray painted my car black and gold for homecoming week. That gets talked about more than me being the mascot.
Okay, let me just ask this. What kind of car did you spray paint, man?
So this was in 1998. So it was a 1986 Ford Tempo. And it was my first car. We paid about $600 for it.
Okay.
It was like a navy blue, and the Ford Tempos and Ford Tauruses of that year, like the 84, 85, 86, would get these sunspots on the roof.
Yes.
So it had these pink sunspots. So honestly, James, the spray paint was an improvement. We went black. And I wanted to make fun of people with a racing stripe. So I put a racing stripe in gold spray paint across the top, did the bumper in gold.
Mm-hmm. How long did you keep it that way?
Until I traded it in.
God, when you traded that car in, someone actually, a dealership said, "Yeah, we'll take it." Really?
Well, they could get some parts off of it. I mean, we got like $100 for it. Nothing crazy, but I wanted to do it for homecoming week. I wanted to show my school spirit. We got to roll it in the homecoming parade. So it's in the yearbook. I'm famous.
So let me ask you a question. You're dating a girl in high school. She's like going, "I'm dating the mascot. I'm getting out of the black and gold car."
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I mean, I was that guy. I was like in the 90s or 80s movies. It's like not the super, D-bag popular guy, but I was
You're Ducky. Yeah, I was going to say that.
Exactly.
You're Ducky.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
John Hughes was big back then, man. I
Yeah,
get
it was.
that. Ferris Bueller, Ducky, all that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yep. It worked.
Interesting that Scott was a B as a mascot. I would have thought that he could pass as Mr. Clean in 20 years. Now we'll head over to the Diz His podcast, of which Chris Yob is actually a co-host. And in this episode, from episode 145, The Backlot Tour, Scott was a guest talking about the tour length and how this attraction was originally 2 hours, before we learn about how he started to stalk a family's vacation.
All you had was Star Tours, the Great Movie Ride, and the Backlot Tour. Those were the only rides that you had.
And that's pretty crazy. And the original Backlot Tour was 2 hours, so it couldn't be a half-day park because you'd spend half the day on the tour.
Can you imagine not knowing that it was 2 hours long? You're just like, oh, let's go check out this tour, and then oh my gosh, it's been like an hour already.
Ma'am, how much longer is it? Hour and a half? Wait, what?
We're even waiting to get on there.
There is, and I went down this rabbit hole where I watched this entire family's vacation at MGM Studios in '91, preparing for this episode. So I got to see everything
on YouTube.
On YouTube,
okay, you weren't following them around
Television,
the
Indiana. No,
wearing your fedora.
Like they went to lunch at Primetime Cafe or whatever, and I'm watching them eat lunch. It was the dumbest thing. But
were you eating lunch
as they
too?
get done? I decided to. I got hungry. I had a bowl of spaghetti. So as they're walking, because there was this like in between transition from the walking tour into the tram tour, there was a full restroom
where you would like go to this restroom and then get back before you get on the tram tour.
Wow.
Because the tram tour itself was at least a half an hour. And plus there was this other walking thing after the tram tour.
I don't remember it being a half hour long. I was really young when I saw this, and really what I remember is the explosions and the goofy, you make it look like you're getting attacked type stuff. Which making light of Pearl Harbor in retrospect is kind of
too soon, Disney. Too soon.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that would almost be like, just imagine
a 9/11 attraction.
Yeah, like imagine that. Seriously, like you probably, when this came out, you still had people that
oh yeah, for sure,
that were served during Pearl Harbor. Wow, we should write maybe that's why I didn't.
I definitely don't remember it being Pearl Harbor themed. Now, when I watched the most recent version of the attraction, it was definitely Pearl Harbor. But back in the mid 90s, even maybe the late 90s, it wasn't. I don't think it was like, hey, this is a scene from the movie Pearl Harbor.
I don't think Pearl Harbor happened yet. Not the event, the movie.
Yeah, the movie hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, right. So it was just probably like a water thing. But yeah, it's pretty insensitive of Disney.
No, that tram tour was definitely 30 minutes long because and I think you wrote it after they tore down the houses and put the
never saw the houses. Yeah, never saw the houses.
Yeah. So definitely then, I mean, because you went through this warehouse and you saw the costuming department, the set department. Then you went through the green area to see all the topiaries and different plants that they put on sets. Then you saw the boneyard and the Flight of the Navigator ship.
Oh, Flight of the Navigator.
All these cars. Yeah. Then the street, then Catastrophe Canyon. So it was
real life street?
Yeah, real life street. Okay. The residential street. And then you went by, the New York area where, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles performed.
It is fascinating to think about that movies actually were filmed there on Disney property. And I think maybe that's why they created this, because they thought we'll make money two ways. We'll make money attracting people to go ride this ride, and we'll make money filming movies and TV shows here. So it was a cool idea for sure. It would have been really cool if it was still, happened to this day. And you know what? Maybe that's why they, moved away from all this stuff, because it just didn't make sense to them anymore. And they just, they don't care about their fans. So.
Now, interestingly, in that clip, Alex mentioned that at the time, Disney's MGM Studios was a half-day park. Coincidentally, that's how long it takes Scott to go to Costco. Now, for our next clip from the Diz His podcast, we'll be going to episode 191, The History of the Italy Pavilion. We'll be starting this clip with Alex telling us the history of the Italy Pavilion before we learn some interesting information about Chris's knowledge.
The plaza is the Neptune Fountain, which is a replica of Neptune from Rome's Trevi Fountain. In front of the pavilion, off of the World Showcase Lagoon, are two bridges which are inspired by a Venice bridge named Ponte della Paglia. The bridges take you over to a gondola dock, where guests can take a ride through the canal that sits underneath the two bridges. I have never seen the gondolas. I guess because I'm just not looking for them. Maybe because I'm just not paying attention. But I've never seen the gondolas.
So this was one of the things I always talk about when I'm about going to like a Disney park, right? It's kind of what you're saying right now, Alex. I've never seen the gondolas either, and I've been back there, right? I'm gonna go look the next time I go.
It's on the Showcase Lagoon.
Yeah, I've seen them.
You have seen them, but it has to be close to Italy, though, right?
I pretend not to see them. I don't tell my family because I would never get in one of those things.
Why not?
Terrifying.
You don't want to get wet?
Well, listen, I'm afraid of heights, and then if it falls, yes, there is the chance of getting wet.
You're afraid of heights?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
A gondola?
Yeah, it's a boat.
Yeah, man, we're not talking about the gondolas like the Skyliner.
Wow, I got that mixed up. What's that called then? No. Wait a second.
This is funny.
Oh, wait a second. Pretty sure a gondola is in the air as well.
It can be. I think gondola. Both, yeah. Let's look at the definition for a gondola.
I don't think a gondola is a boat.
I think no, it is. I think it's like something that gets you from one place to another or something like that.
The Skyliner is a type of gondola. That's what Maddie's saying.
No, not really.
Okay.
Well, it says right here, like I typed in definition, it says a light, flat-bottomed boat used on Venetian canals.
I could
Yep.
Yeah.
Or it can be a cabin on a suspended lift ski lift.
Why?
So it's both.
That is so random. That is so random. No wonder people can't speak English properly.
Yeah.
Like how is that the same thing?
So gondolas through the air or the water.
So I've seen the Skyliners then.
Yes, you've seen the Skyliners.
Yeah.
Not the gondolas.
No, I've never seen the boat gondola.
I get gondolas confused with granola. But yeah, once again, I kind of talk about like the parks, and there's all these like cool little things that you usually don't see unless you're looking for them. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it almost makes like when you're going to the parks and you see something that's new, even though I've been there, hundreds of times I've been to Disney, like the Disney park. There's almost a time where I can always find something new, which is cool.
Yeah. You really got, like, we've always said it. We feel sorry for people who go to Disney once every 5 years and tries to fit a park in 3 days, all the parks in 3 days. Like, I feel sorry for them. If you can have a pass and go there multiple times a year, it really is different when you take Disney by a stroll, right? You're strolling through Disney. You're not like, I gotta get point A, point B, point C, point D, hit this mini ride, and hit this rest location to eat, and then get to this location for a ride. Like, if you're literally just walking through the park, enjoying the sights and sounds, and kind of going wherever your feet lead you, there's a lot of things you'll notice that you will never see if you're going fast.
That was beautiful, Alex.
Thank you.
It was beautiful, man. We're about to get to the food, my favorite part.
Yes.
Aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Now, if I were to guess, I'd say the real reason that Chris is afraid of gondolas, whether in the air or on the water, it's because he's worried about them sinking while he's in them. After all, if Dumbo can't stay in them safely, then he almost certainly can't either. Now, for our last clip, we'll be heading back to the Podfather himself, Remy, for Remy's Roundtable. We'll be going to the episode Park Pioneers, Thrills, Spills, and Cinematic Chills. This is a very recent episode where both Chris and Scott were co-hosts and guests on the show. And throughout this episode, we were playing some great movie ride trivia that was actually hosted by yours truly. Scott makes a couple of gaffes, and this is the longest clip that we've got for this segment here, but trust me, it's well worth listening to. Now let's get back to our trivia. How many countries does Indiana Jones visit in Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Okay, this question's for Scott because Scott loves, the Indiana Jones.
There's not enough Indiana Jones representation in the parks.
Right.
No.
Just putting that out there.
So he's in, for Raiders of the Lost Ark, he goes to, that's weird.
So wherever he was to get the first place to where he almost gets hit by the ball.
Exactly. And then he goes to the cold place in that's like the snow place where he finds Marion.
The Himalayas?
The Himalayas, whatever.
He's also at his university in was it New Delhi?
No, it's not in New Delhi. He's at the university.
Another country.
Yeah. And then he goes
America?
to that's the other country. He goes to the United States to bring back or to tell what's his face about what's his name took the money. Belloc took the skull thingy the gold thing, and then
Crystal Skull.
No, it's a golden skull that he.
Oh yeah. Okay, never mind.
Then he's at the first place where he tries to get the thing, but Belloc takes it. Then he goes back to the United States, tells the dude that owns the museum that he took it, and he's like, I almost found it, but the Americans are trying to get him to go to told him to go to, or wanted him to find the Ark. So he goes.
Put it on real quick.
No, he goes to someplace in Africa
or Cairo
or Egypt.
That's Africa.
That's in Africa.
That's Africa.
That's in Africa. It's northern Africa, but it's in Africa.
God, your racism is showing.
Here we go.
Egypt is in northern Africa, and then he goes to Germany. No, he doesn't go to Germany, does he?
Scott's mind is blown.
Yeah, Scott's mind is like, where did he go?
He goes to 4 countries.
He doesn't like this movie anymore now that
he's in 4 countries. If you include the United States, he's in 4 countries.
Wait, hold on. So, okay, where the original temple is,
yes.
Then
the Himalayas.
Wherever he taught the Himalayas, Cairo. Is he ever in Germany?
No, he never went to Germany. They ended up. So they went to Egypt together. She got captured after the monkey basically made her or gave her away. So the monkey died. They finally caught her. They took her to wherever they were digging in Egypt.
I think go with 4. I think you may be right with 4.
Yeah.
It's either 4 or 5.
I've watched all 3 movies in the last week.
Well, the other 2 aren't going to help us.
Exactly. But it's one of the first movies that I liked. So,
all right. So
it's not my favorite Indiana Jones movie, but it is really good.
All right. So what's the
Ryan? What's the question?
Ryan. What's the question, man?
How many different countries does Indiana Jones visit?
4. If you include the United States, it's 4.
All right. So 4 it is. Lock it in, Mr. Ryan. 4.
To exclude Africa for Scott.
Yeah. I had no idea. I thought it was in the Middle East, which was.
We are now in.
I have a question about African geography for 1,000, Alex.
Okay.
So
wait.
If
there was this
Gambia
one movie.
is the smiling coast of Africa, what is Egypt then?
I mean, well, no, Gambia is the smiling coast of West Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Egypt is in East Africa.
Northeast Africa.
Northeast Africa.
Right.
It's in between.
It borders.
Jesus, where were you guys with the 5-minute professor with the geography? We never did this one.
Nope.
So
I knew what
the main of Africa.
Okay, so it's where, isn't it where like there's like a, I don't want to say it's the Red Sea.
It's right across the Suez Canal from the Middle East.
Yeah.
It is the horn
By the Red Sea.
if you will.
Yeah,
So
it is the Red Sea. Okay.
horny coast of Africa.
It's like where the Mediterranean and the Suez blocks the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, right?
It's the coast of Africa that I thought was in Europe.
All right, continue.
Northern Africa, northwestern Africa is Morocco, which is across the Mediterranean.
Morocco
with
is in
Spain.
Africa?
Morocco is in northern Africa.
Yeah, Morocco's in Africa.
Morocco's in Africa.
I'm never going to Africa.
My ex-fiance is Moroccan.
Realize that there was an Africa pavilion.
I am not going to Epcot. I am not going to Epcot.
Okay.
All right, let's flush down the reins and continue on with our trivia tour. No, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. How often do you get to say that? I'd say we're over the rainbow in one of the most beloved movies of all time, The Wizard of Oz. Who portrayed Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz?
Judy Garland.
Judy Garland.
Mother of Liza Minnelli.
Yeah.
Yes.
Carrie Fisher. No.
Not Carrie Fisher, dude.
That
movie was earlier.
It was Judy Garland Judy Garland was the mother of Liza Minnelli, and I can't think of the other daughter.
Liza with a Z.
Liza with a Z. And then they have another daughter, and I can't think of her name.
Doesn't matter.
But she's an actress too.
Carrie Fisher was Debbie Reynolds' daughter.
Yeah, and Carrie Fisher was Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher.
Close enough.
Ryan, I missed that one.
Yeah, what did you say, Ryan?
Liza Minnelli's father, who was married to Judy Garland, was the director of Meet Me in St. Louis, which Judy Garland was in. Vincent Minnelli.
Oh,
Vincent Minnelli, yeah. Among other things.
Banging the director.
Yeah.
She was.
All right, so we are sticking with Judy Garland for our final answer.
Let me tell you, for a 1930s chick, she was a hot piece of ass.
Fun fact.
Hell yeah.
They were initially
Judy Garland?
considering Shirley Temple.
Yeah, Shirley Temple was supposed to. Fun fact, Judy Garland, the reason that she was so up on drugs was because of the Wizard of Oz and the that they did to her.
We got to do time out real quick. Who's a hot piece of ass, Scott?
Judy Garland.
Judy Garland, man.
She was 14 and was
She was not 14.
She wasn't 14 when she did it.
14?
She was not 14 when she was in Wizard
16.
of Oz.
She was like 18.
She was of age.
No, she was not. I just listened to a whole podcast about
16 years old.
Not
She
in
played a
Wizard of Oz, but yeah.
Oh, so you thought her portraying a 16-year-old was hot then?
No, Judy Garland.
You're about to get him canceled, and then you're going to lose your podcast.
For a 1930s chick, she was hot.
You want me to look up how old
Oh my God.
was?
Please
Please do, Ryan.
She was born in 1922.
Oh my gosh.
She wasn't 14.
All right, hold on.
Cut this out.
One at a time. One at a time.
Alex, cut all that out. Alex, cut it out, please.
Hold on.
Cut that out.
Hold on. When it was released, which means that when the movie was made, she was younger than 17, Scott.
See, the thing is,
this is a whole
and it was a couple of years before they had multiple directors.
In general.
In general, yeah.
Thank you, Nicole. In general.
We're gonna say within general.
Yeah, she was hot in her early teens. Is what
No,
the
just in
spirit of
general.
Jeffrey Epstein lives on.
Now, granted, back in the day when she was that age, girls were getting married at that age. My grandmother got married at 14.
That's Scott's defense. I wish I was of age back in the 30s.
Chris, the defense that I will always stick with is the age of consent in the state of Florida is 16.
Jesus.
Thank you for that clip, Remy. It's not really worth me roasting Scott here. He kind of roasted himself in that segment. But regardless, we've reached the end of our clip show for today's episode. We'll be heading into our break here, I'd presume, but thank you for listening, and thank you, Scott, for letting me put this segment together.
If you'd like to hear all of our episodes, all of our past episodes, just visit our website, nonewfriendspodcast.com. All of our links to all of our old episodes are there. If you didn't understand an inside joke or just wanted to re-listen to something, just check it out. It's nonewfriendspodcast.com, or you can check us out on all streaming platforms.
Picture it, St. Augustine, Florida, 2022. You're on the Night Watchman Ghost Tour with all of your ghoul friends. The air grows colder, you turn the corner, and there she is, Ghost Mary. Okay, you probably won't run into Ghost Mary. You may see a ghost named Mary. I'm not really 100% sure, but the tour guides for the Night Watchman Ghost Tour from See America Tours do know it is the only 4D ghost tour in St. Augustine. So if you have ever wondered what a ghost smells like, well, now is your chance. And right now they have a scary good deal going on. Enter the promo code NNF, as in no new friends, and receive 25% off your Night Watchman Ghost Tour. So visit them at seeamericatours.net. That is SEE americatours.net. Okay, bye.
This is Larry Hankin, and you're listening to the No New Friends podcast.
Welcome back to the No New Friends podcast. I'm so super excited about our next interview. We've had some great interviews. I'm really, really, really excited about this one. You've seen him in Johnny Dangerously, Cannonball, The Sting 2, Clueless, and Jaws. You've also definitely seen his work, including writing for Dr. Detroit, The Jerk, Which Way Is Up, and Jaws 1, 2, and 3. Please, everybody, welcome Mr. Carl Gottleib. Carl, how are you this evening?
So far, I'm well, thank you.
So I got to tell you, Carl, I've got to thank you for two of my kids, my ex-wife, and my current wife.
Carl, I have to thank you for my husband, actually.
That's a rather heavy burden. As long as you're happy with them, then you're welcome. The minute they turn sour, I can say, no, I didn't say go with it.
No part of it.
I'm happy with most of my scenario, and I got to tell you. So the reason why I've got to thank you is one of my first jobs, I drove the Jaws boats at Universal Studios Florida, and so I met my ex-wife there, and then obviously had two kids, and then I met my current wife. She worked at Earthquake, which is right next door to Jaws, so we would meet in the little back break area in between Jaws and Earthquake.
Just to say hi, Carl. That's all they did there when they met.
If they had gone further, they could say to each other, "Did the Earth move for you too?"
She would say no, Carl.
Carl, did you ever get to ride Jaws either in Florida or Hollywood?
Oh, no.
No? Okay.
Sorry, if I may, my husband was actually conceived while his parents watched Jaws. And when I say watched, I mean that very loosely.
So, Carl, I find it interesting. You actually started as a comedian and performed in the committee with Larry Hankin. It was a roommate of yours, right?
Yeah.
So how did you go from comedy and improv into screenwriting?
Well, it seemed like a natural progression at the time. I was always a writer. I was never not a writer. But when I was in the committee, I was improvising nightly, and then later I had an agent who teamed me with Steven Spielberg. I knew him socially. I acted in a couple of his TV movies before Duel. We were acquainted, and he asked me once if I'd be interested in working on this new script that he had just gotten from Zanuck and Brown, and it was also an opportunity to appear as an actor. So I said, "Sure, I'll go for that." And so it came to pass. I quit my day job, which was being a story editor on The Odd Couple on ABC.
Oh.
And I went off to on 3 weeks' notice with Stephen to Boston while he cast extras, and I started on the rewrite. And I continued rewriting or appearing in the movie for the next 3 months until we were through filming all the dialogue, everything that I was responsible for, including my own appearance, was done. All they had left to do was shoot the stuff at sea, which took another 2 months, but I was out of there.
Man, I think it takes 2 months just to watch their time at sea. It's such a long part of the movie.
Yeah, well, while they were struggling, I was safe back at home. And
Perfect. That's all you can ask for.
So, did you get to work directly with Peter Benchley in adapting his book into the screenplay?
No, we are there. There's two kinds of collaboration. There's joint collaboration, where either you sit in the same room or you pass pages back and forth or you send pages back and forth. And then there's serial collaboration, which one person does his part, then the next person does their part. So the script that I worked on was written by Peter Benchley as part of his deal with Zanuck and Brown when they bought the rights. There was a way of getting him extra money, let him write the screenplay. So he wrote a screenplay that wasn't satisfactory. So they hired a writer named Howard Sackler, who did not claim credit. And his principal contribution to the screenplay was that he discovered the Indianapolis incident and put that in the movie to explain Quint's monomaniacal dedication to killing the shark. So that's where that came from. And then what I did with Stephen, of course, was to prune away everything that wasn't, Men Against the Sea, that wasn't about the shark and Roy Scheider. So a couple of big subplots got lost. The romance between Hooper and Ellen Brody was eliminated because, once we saw the actors, we realized it would, you could not imagine those two having an affair.
That would have
either because the character as portrayed by Elaine was too, by Lorraine was too nice a person, and Hooper was sassy little Richard Dreyfuss, not a big hunk.
That would have made for an interesting little subplot there, maybe in the reboot.
Yeah, well, it was in the original casting that was proposed. Among the actors who was proposed for Hooper was Jan Michael Vincent, who's a long way from Richard Dreyfuss.
Right. Now you were. Did I read correctly? You were brought in to kind of add some comedic aspects to the characters. Is that correct?
Well, more than that, my job was they were all kind of cardboard characters, kind of cut out. They weren't written very carefully in respect to reality.
Look, Pop Off King, tell us all of it. We want to hear it.
Oh no.
Tell us.
It was it needed rewriting, and that's what I did. I made everyone human. And Stephen encouraged the cast to ad lib, so I would review their ad libs with Stephen. Say, that's good, keep it in. That's a diversion. Stomp on the actor. Don't let him say that.
Trash. No, thank you.
I was on the set most of the time when I wasn't, at home writing. It was easy to keep track of what was going on.
So there's an iconic line in the movie Jaws. It's probably one of the most quoted things other than Luke, I'm your father. You're going to need a bigger boat. Who can claim credit for that line? Is that you, or was that a Roy Scheider improv?
For years, I used to say it was a Roy Scheider improv, and I turned down the Writers Guild once did a campaign called Somebody Wrote That, and they would feature great lines from movies and try to give some credit to the writers of those lines. So I always say, I always kind of misremembered that Roy had ad-libbed it. And then later, one of the fans sent me a documentary with Roy speaking, in which he says, no, that was in the script. So, I'm kind of okay with claiming credit for it.
It was you.
It was you.
I'm kind of okay with it. We're printing shirts as we speak.
Yeah, it's actually on my shirt. You're going to need a bigger boat.
I'm content to leave it lay as a collaborative effort. We all contributed. And if you're a good writer, and if you've done your job in creating believable, fleshed out characters that the actors understand and inhabit, when it comes time for them to make something up, they will stay in character. They will ad-lib within the character that you created. So if it was an ad-lib, it was an ad-lib that was consistent with Brody at that moment in time. So kudos to Stephen and to me for...
you made that space for him. Yeah.
Kudos to me.
He was able to inhabit it. No, live in it. That's great. I love that. That's awesome.
So, Carl, you, after the iconic Jaws 1, which, fun fact for you guys, I don't know if you know this, it had a budget of $9 million, and it...
up from $3.5 million.
Up from $3.5 million. And it grossed, in kind of the opening release, $123.1 million, which is incredible. So naturally, you take a cinematic masterpiece like Jaws, and you come out with Jaws 2 and Jaws 3. Now, what were the differences in writing for Jaws 2 and Jaws 3? And Jaws 3, by the way, is my favorite. What were the differences writing for Jaws 1 versus 2 and 3?
Well, you have to remember the iron law of sequels is that only the last one loses money, which is why you've got Police Academy 6 and Friday. They'll keep making them as long as they make money.
Sure.
So when Jaws was a huge success, it was obvious it was going to be a sequel, and then when that was a success, there was going to be another sequel. Now, when Jaws 2 was in the planning stages, they offered it to me for scale, which I thought was insulting. Zanuck and Brown were stingy bastards. I'm comfortable saying that.
I'm comfortable with it too.
And they wanted me to work for scale. And I told my agent, pass, but they're going to come back and it's going to cost them. And sure enough, they got into trouble. And they said on 2, and they said, okay, we'll give him what he wants. We're close to it. So I got a fair price for Jaws 2. And then the same thing I did. They didn't ask me to do Jaws 3D, but again, they got into trouble and they were on location. And who are you going to get who knows how to fly into some location, pick up the pieces of whatever Jaws they're shooting, and try to organize it into a coherent whole. And that's what I did on both those pictures. Jaws 4, nobody asked me. I never saw, and to this day, I've never seen it. I don't even know what it's like.
I didn't know what Jaws 4 existed. I'm going to be honest.
Carl, I got to be honest. I had a question about that, but since you haven't seen it, I can't really ask it. But it actually is considered one of the worst movies of all time. I read that online. It's a fact. It's one of the worst movies. I was going to ask you what you would have done differently, but
you know what? I can't tell you because they didn't hire me for it.
Right.
So I probably would have come up with a very different film if they had seen fit to come after me. But I was doing other stuff then. I had my own career to think about. I was directing. I was starting. I was doing Caveman. There's lots to do.
Well, thank goodness you can't put your name associated with that, because that movie was. I mean, you have Michael Caine in that movie, and it should have been a blockbuster. But then you had a shark jumping out of the water and taking down a helicopter. It's very, very odd. Now, do you take compliment at some of the? I mean, there's been so many like spoof movies, if you will. Sharks and sharks have been kind of become a phenomenon. You've got Shark Week and Sharknado.
I'm fond of saying it's always Shark Week somewhere on the planet.
Right. But
you're not wrong.
Do you? I mean, that you and Spielberg are kind of to thank for all of this shark phenomenon that we have. Have you ever kind of sat back and you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm indirectly part of this.
Well, I try to limit the self-congratulations so my head doesn't fill the frame here.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, yes, we created something that turned out to have an afterlife, but in show business, there's no guarantee. I mean, you can't plan a hit. You can buy an opening weekend by spending a ton of money on ads, but for a picture to last certainly as long as Jaws has, it has to have something going for it that is ineffable, undefinable, reproducible. Believe me, if people could write hits, they'd write them all the time. They'd never write anything else.
Yeah.
But you don't know when you're writing it. You just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I have kids that are young. I mean, my kids span from 15 to my youngest is 8, and my 8-year-old is like wanting to watch the Jaws movies. And that's because of pop culture and that it's still so relevant, and that's huge. And how would you even know that it was going to come back round like that? I mean, you couldn't know that, but here we are.
Yeah,
and it's so cool. It's
27
awesome.
years later. Gee.
Yeah, we don't need to date it.
I know. I just did the math today, and I'm like,
I don't need to do that. Let's not do that to ourselves, guys.
Review. Think of all the other films that came out the summer of '75, and which of them have lasted. Maybe Earthquake because it's attached to a ride,
but not really.
Yeah, but not really.
No offense.
Yeah,
but not really. Like my kids are not. Like we're not watching shows about epic battles between earthquakes and other things. We're watching things about sharks taking down other
battle
things,
between earthquakes and Charlton Heston.
That's the charm of it. It has universal appeal. Go figure.
Yeah. So you wrote a book, The Jaws Log, which I have right in front of me, and thank you so much for
yes, thank you.
signing these for us. It was such a huge thrill. So in this book, it talks a lot about how difficult the production of the Jaws film was. Can you share some of those aspects that made it so difficult?
Well, for one thing, I suggest people go out and buy the book.
Of course, give us a little sneak peek, though. Yeah, just the tip.
We were shooting on water. We were shooting before CGI. I mean, nowadays, if you're looking at the horizon and a sailboat comes into the shot, you just paint it out.
Right.
In those days, if a sailboat came onto the horizon, by the time you sent a speedboat out to say, hey, turn around and go back, you can't, you're in the shot, it'll take a half day, so basically we had, somebody drifted into the shot. We just have to stop and wait until they left and then resume.
Right.
Took months to finish at sea.
So the Jaws Log you can get on Amazon. I actually have 2 copies. But your book was also the inspiration for a musical, Bruce the Musical. Did you have any involvement in that, or did they just call you up and say, hey, we want to make a musical based off your book?
They paid for an option agreement, and they were faithful to it. And this year in Seattle, at the Seattle Rep, they opened a full-scale production of Bruce. And now, if they're waiting to find a theater in New York, and they're going to be workshopping it in New York and then previews and then open on Broadway sometime in the future. I don't know when.
Wow.
I've actually seen some clips of that where they're kind of recreating the USS Indianapolis scene. Isn't Robert Shaw's son? Doesn't he play Robert Shaw? I thought I saw that.
That's a different production.
Oh, it's a different. So there's multiple productions of Bruce.
There's two stage productions. One is Bruce the musical, and in progress and in process, and the other is Ian Shaw, who performed a one-man show at Edinburgh Festival about 4 years ago, which was a huge success. And he secured the rights from Wendy Benchley, and then he did it again as the following year, also a big hit at Edinburgh. So because it was so well received, he got a playwright and a director, and they wrote a legitimate play, which opened in London at the Ambassador's Theatre in the West End and played for a year, and then went on the road. And I saw it in Toronto just a couple months ago, and that's out there, and that's coming to Broadway too. So there's Bruce the musical, and then there's The Shark is Broken, which is Ian Shaw's tribute to his dad, in which he stars with two actors playing Roy Scheider and Richard Dreyfuss on a set that is basically The Boat.
That's so cool.
Wow. You're way too young to remember a play called Nicholas Nickleby, which was, I think, put together by the Royal Shakespeare Company in England, came to Broadway many, many years ago. And it was a very long play. It was like 6 hours long. So you had a choice to watch it, of watching it two shows on the same day, the part one and part two, or splitting it up and seeing part one on one day and part two on another day. So since they could split, they could do two shows at a day, it struck me that it would be very interesting on Broadway to have The Shark is Broken and Bruce kind of in repertory. You could watch both of them the same day, or you could watch one and then the other. But then I realized both grosses would suffer. You couldn't, pay the writers what they deserve for both plays. Mm-hmm. So that notion is dead. But it was fun to think about it. But no, and also in an alternative universe, or perhaps in this one by next summer, both shows will have been on Broadway and will either still be running or will have collapsed from indifference. You never know.
Right. Listen, if they can make it Back to the Future musical, then I think the Jaws musical is going to do just fine.
Okay.
100%.
From all lips to God's ears.
Look, I can only think of my children who are, two of them that are on the spectrum. That's going to that market will keep it lifted for sure. Because they just hyperfixate my two sons on sharks for sure. So that'll carry it through. Yes, for sure. Smash it. Done. Okay. Done and done. Done and done.
Carl, are there any aspects of the Jaws films that you wish you would have done differently or would have been done differently, other than fighting harder to keep the affair between Ellen Brody and Hooper?
Well, I was glad to see that go.
I know.
What you mean? What am I missing? What did I did?
Is there anything that you would have done differently, or wish you would have done differently, or maybe after seeing the film, going, we could have done this a little bit differently here?
Final tweaks.
We because it was finished in November of '74, we had from November through April or May to tinker with it in post-production. The Ben Gardner's head scene, which is everybody's favorite shock moment.
Oh yeah.
That was filmed, months after production. That shot was made in Verna Field's little swimming pool in a little house in the valley, because Steven said, "I need one more scream," and they went to they kind of borrowed the boat from what was left of the boat from Universal, some planks, and recreated the hull with Ben Gardner in Verna's swimming pool.
That's awesome.
That's so neat.
Shot that scene.
Huh.
But in terms of what else I would have done, it's just it was so long ago. Basically we did everything that we could. We never even thought of alternatives. Nobody ever said, if we had more time, we could. That never came up. he says, "Oh my God, what are we going to shoot tomorrow? Yeah. Are we ready? No, Carl, go to work."
It's pretty much the perfect movie. I don't know that you could change anything. It's almost the perfect movie. Carl, do you still participate in any of the Jaws fandom, any of the MegaCons or any conventions or anything like that?
Yeah, I occasionally go to conventions and sign autographs and sell my books, sell 8x10 glossies and realize some cash that way. But as a matter of fact, I just came back from Maryland. I was in Maryland or South Carolina. Anyway, I was out there somewhere doing a show, and they're kind of fun to do because everybody is respectful. But I am older and frailer now, and it's the travel is a bit of a drag. Plane schedules are not what they used to be. You can't rely on things being on time. When I went to Toronto to see The Shark Is Broken, that was the worst plane trip of my life. I was hoping for a direct flight, and I didn't get one.
How many layovers? Tell us about it. I want to hear it. How many layovers? I want to hear the travel story.
I was stranded in Dallas.
Ooh.
Continued. I mean, I didn't know whether to take my morning medication or my evening.
Yeah.
I was frazzled, and I got to Toronto eventually and saw the show, and then went out with the boys afterwards. And then the next night I saw the show again, and it was great to see it in a legit theater, and great to see the play working. So I did my part. I got there, but it wasn't easy, and it took me like a week to recover. So I have to be more circumspect about what I do now in terms of outside activity. I mean, I walk. I have a cane, so I have some. There's just I'm old.
Listen, it is shocking how relatable all of what you're saying is to Mary.
Yes, I didn't want to say it. 100%. All of these things. I'm like, yes, I feel all of them in my soul. 100%. At 35 years of age, I 100% feel all of these things.
As the old line, 35 years of age, I got neckties older than you.
Carl,
I like to say that to people sometimes. I'm like, I have kids as old as you. What are you talking about? And I usually do sometimes.
Carl, Mary has the world's largest pill sorter.
I do.
We submitted it to Guinness.
I have the largest pill sorter. I have so many ailments. We could probably compare. We'll do it offline, honestly. We don't have time right now. I did have a cane. I don't need it right now, but I'm fine now. For now, we'll say.
Carl, are there any projects that you're working on nowadays, or are you somewhat retired from writing?
I like to say that I'm semi-retired, unemployed, or between assignments, depending on how I feel when I wake up in the morning.
Chris says the same thing every day.
I like it.
Yeah, most of my writing is confined to correspondence, answering letters and.
When my husband asks me if I have a job yet, I'm going to start responding with, I'm between assignments.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with that. I love it. Thank you so much.
So, Carl, you've got the Bedford Film Festival coming up real soon. Can you tell us about that?
In Virginia, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Bedford, Virginia, with our good friend Laura Willoughby.
Yeah,
that's Chris. Do you remember the day? It's July, the first week of July, I believe.
I think it's July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It's right around the July 4th weekend.
Correct.
Yeah. Which is
poppin' weekend. Yeah.
Giving me pause for thought because travel on that weekend is going to be a bitch.
Yes.
You know what? Take an extra week. Get out there early. Bedford, Virginia is beautiful.
The week before that, I have a gig in Lehighton, Pennsylvania, at a drive-in.
I know Lehighton.
Yeah, there's a drive-in there that's doing a show, and I'm told them I'd be there. So I'm going to be in Pennsylvania, and I'm going to go from there to Virginia if I can figure out who's going to drive me or how I'm going to get there. I mean, there's no
Chris is right there. Chris will drive you. He's got one of those new fancy Mustang things. What is it? Like a hybrid, right? You got it.
Yeah, it'll drive you there. Yeah.
It will.
Move a muscle.
It's almost like a Tesla. Almost.
Chris or Sarah, do you have any questions for Carl Gottleib?
I do. Sarah, do you have any?
Oh, I'm on the spot. I
All right,
can't think of any at the moment.
I'll go first. So, Carl, now looking through your filmography and everything that you were responsible for, the one name that pops out to I would think anybody.
Wait! I'm not responsible for. I participated in.
You played a huge role in that movie.
That is the best line. If you were involved in any crime, I'm not responsible for. I just participated in. I'm here for it. I love it. I sign off.
So, Jaws sticks out, above all the rest. But to you, what is the project that you were involved in that you're most proud of?
Well, I'm fond of saying, if I was a Jeopardy category, I'd be his hits begin with a J. It's Jaws, jerk. And I found a piece of paper once where I said to whoever I was writing to, I was talking about Jaws. I made one mistake and I got one thing right. The mistake that I made, I said, when I read the script, I said, does the girl have to die in the opening scene? Because it's such a horror movie cliche, teenager has sex and dies. I mean, that's
always
everything. It's all horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know that Stephen would shoot it in the most effective opening sequence of film. So I got that one wrong. What I got right was, and I have it in writing, I said, if we do our jobs right, and I was talking about me and Spielberg, if we do our jobs right, people will feel about going in the water the way they felt about taking a shower after Psycho.
Yes.
When you look at the 100 best horror films of all time, the AFI list, Psycho's number 1, Jaws is number 2.
Wow.
Carl, I still can't take a shower by myself.
And in the comedy arena, The Jerk is like number 41 of the 100 best films of all time. So I got 2 films in the top 100.
There you go.
I'm very proud of Caveman, which was, there's no dialogue. It was a real achievement, and it was a great cast. I mean, it was Ringo Starr, Barbara Bach, Jack Gilford, Shelley Long, John Matuzak of the Oakland Raiders.
Wow.
It was a great cast, and I directed it and co-wrote it and had a great time. So I'm proud of that really much.
I'm glad you answered that. I never heard of Caveman. Now I'm going to give it a look. I'm a big Beatles fan, so the fact that Ringo Starr was in it, that's pretty cool.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Co-stars with Dennis Quaid.
I have to. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Called Caveman.
Carl.
Yes.
You've been around many celebrities, many stars, and you've had a lot of experience on all these different sets. And shooting Jaws was, you're on the beach. It might get hot. People might start sweating. Who is the smelliest actor or actress that you've ever been around?
Question. I don't know. I'm libeling someone. Can I ask that you not record or not?
Don't say the name. We won't, Carl. You don't have to say the name. You don't have to say the name.
There is a smelliest actor. I mean, I have one.
We won't put it in the episode. We will keep it out. But for me, I need to know.
Okay, but I have to. Rather than trust you, just turn off the recording.
Yeah, tell us when we're done recording the episode. Tell us when we're done.
Perfect.
That's fine. Going to interrupt real quick here. Carl does answer the question, and we did stop recording. We edited. So unless you're a Patreon member and you were watching live when we recorded this episode, you're never going to know the answer. Sorry. So let this be a lesson, a learning opportunity. Join our Patreon for as low as $2 a month. You can watch us record these episodes live, and you could see when the celebrities answer the smelly celebrity question. All right, now back to the interview.
He was not practicing personal hygiene for some, I don't know why.
Whatever reasons,
So he stank. To answer your question, stank.
Gotcha.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for answering that. Now I can rest easy knowing that.
Now you can roll tape again.
All right, got it.
How many people have come to you and been like, you're responsible for my husband or my child or just like both of, like Scott and I both were like, hey, thank you so much for being a part of X, Y, and Z. That has to happen all the time. Is that a thing for you, or is this new?
Well,
is this
for 47 years, whenever somebody finds out that I wrote the Fish movie, I've started calling it that because I'm just tired of saying Jaws. When people find out that I'm in part responsible, their reaction is always the same. After I saw your movie, I didn't go in the water for, I didn't swim. I didn't go, I didn't go in the swimming pool. I didn't go in the bathtub. I didn't take a shower. People have been saying I didn't go in the water. And I nod and smile like I've never heard that before. It seems to be the universal reaction for 47 years from anybody I tell I wrote Jaws.
Yeah.
They all say the same thing.
Oh.
That's awesome. All right. I've got some rapid fire questions for you. Okay.
Rapid fire answers.
All right. I'm a fat guy. Chris is a fat guy. So I always care about the food.
I could be a fat girl.
Well,
I could. Trying
You're a
my
fat
very
girl
best.
trapped in a skinny girl's body.
I am. Yes, let's go.
Carl, what are your must-haves on the craft service table?
M&Ms, Twizzles, and perhaps a sweet roll of some sort.
Okay. You actually
Perhaps a sweet roll. That's so kind. You're like, perhaps. I'm not going to
Perhaps,
demand
yeah.
it, but perhaps. I love that.
You already answered your favorite project other than Jaws. Any routines or superstitions that you would do before filming?
No, I mean, like any show business endeavor, please God, make this one outright. I just approach it, existentially with, here we go. Let's hope, I'm going to do my job. Let's hope everybody else does theirs. And, then you can't go wrong.
All right. Closest friend from film or television?
Larry Hankin.
Yeah, I figured that one. Larry's such a great guy. He came on our show a couple months ago. So funny.
We were in college together, class of 59.
Wow. Yeah, you guys were college roommates, right?
We were roommates in New York.
Okay.
In college. He was in a fraternity. I was an independent.
Gotcha. There must have been some late nights of just you guys making each other laugh. That'd be fun. Carl, do you have any social media links or website or anything that we can tell our listeners to check you out on?
Oh, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Facebook also in a page called The Quintessential Carl Gottleib.
I love that.
So there's a lot of stuff on there, mostly other people posting and asking questions. But yeah, I don't have a big web presence because I don't have the time or the energy.
Sure.
To maintain the site, to answer questions, to publicize it, all those things. I leave it to the machines to take care of things.
Mm-hmm.
Mary also doesn't have a very large social media presence, but that's just because she's lazy.
I wish it was for other reasons. It's just because I can't. I got 5 kids. I just, I'm busy. Thanks a lot, Scott, though. Man, I'm in front of this cool guy, and now you're just telling all my business. Back to him. God.
Everybody, as soon as you're done listening to this interview, just click over to Amazon, get yourself the Jaws log. It's all about the problems that they had filming the movie Jaws, and it's a good read. It's an easy read, but Carl wrote it. There it is. I've got the 30th anniversary edition.
As busy
and
as
that
I am,
edition.
it's on my nightstand. Okay.
Yep.
Good.
As busy as I am. Here it is.
So check that out on Amazon, and No New Friends Podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey there, Scott here. You all know I like to spend time wandering the neighborhood on my big wheels or hanging out at the park with my fedora and my Bud Light. So I don't have time to clean my own house. That's why I've been using I Believe services for the past 6-7 years, and they're the best in commercial and residential cleaning. They're also doing carpet shampooing at such a reasonable price. Just check them out. That's ibelieveservices.us. Give them a call, 407-928-4595, and tell them that the No New Friends podcast sent you.
Hi, this is comedian Miguel Colon, and you're listening to the No New Friends podcast.
Welcome back to the No New Friends podcast. That interview was dynamite, electric, some would say.
That was so cool. I love the movie, and it was so cool hearing from the guy who was behind all the dialogue between what all of these incredible characters said. I loved it.
It was interesting. We all know that a lot of lines are improv. You know, Han Solo saying "I know" when Leia says "I love you." That was improv, and I always thought that "You're going to need a bigger boat" was improv, and I guess Carl Gottleib wrote it, which is, you know, the most iconic line from that movie. So
I mean, it's one of the 100 most iconic movie quotes of all time, for sure.
Exactly, and it's interesting because, you know, he was a screenwriter on Jaws, but he got his start doing comedy, and him and Larry Hankin were our best friends, and roommates. You know, roommates. But yeah, this was a super big thrill for me. We've had two writing legends on the show. Bruce Vilanch, you know, in the episode Writing Star Wars. I mean, he is an iconic writer, and, you know, many people may not know who he is, but he's touched a lot of projects that you know, the Academy Awards and the Star Wars Holiday Special, and just to name a few. But he's written so much. And then Carl Gottleib, who is, you know, wrote one of the most iconic movies of all time. In fact, the number 2, you know, top horror film of all time.
And I mean, as I recall, Scott, you've got another really cool interview coming up on After Dark this week, right?
I know. I can't wait. The Eddie Deason interview. We'll talk about that on Wednesday because, guys, it is by far. Okay, we've had some great interviews. Laura Willoughby was a fantastic interview. Jeremy Miller was an unbelievable interview. Tanya Gilbert was fantastic. This Eddie Deason interview, we'll talk about it more on Wednesday, but what we thought the interview was going to be and what it was, two completely different things. This guy's got amazing, amazing stories. And wait till we get to the who's the smelliest actor question, because he answers it and it shocks us. So don't miss Wednesday's episode. It's going to be unbelievable.
Who is the smelliest Hollywood actor? The answer may shock you. Click here.
but and he's going to come on again as we get closer to the holiday season, so we could talk more about Polar Express, which, you know, I one of you guys said in chat when the interview was happening, this guy could read the phone book and be interesting. And he's got an iconic voice. You'll recognize him as soon as he starts talking. So that's Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed this compilation that Sophisticated Gentleman put together. Thank you, Mr. Gentleman, for doing that. It was amazing. And it was a lot of fun to listen to, kind of stroll down memory lane, especially that first Diz Journey episode. That's kind of what started everything. I mean, that episode right there, nobody realizes the importance of that episode, because that episode brings us all together. We met Joe that night from Diz His. We met Chris. You know, we met Alex, and you may not think that's a big deal, but that led us to having Chris on as a guest and then being a regular co-host. And it opened up all these friendships, but I don't know that this podcast exists without that episode of Diz Journey, because I think Mary and I get burned out, just the two of us. And I don't know that I would have ever been able to find that perfect third person that I was looking for.
And it's kind of become full circle, because with that last clip, the podcast might not exist anymore when the police come after you for your comments about Judy Garland.
You're not wrong. And for clarification, Judy Garland in general was hot for a 1930s chick. Not as a 16-year-old, but as an adult.
As a 1930s chick, she was underage for the entirety of the 1930s.
For a 1940s chick. God damn it.
Pre-war.
All right, as always, check out Diz His, and check out Sandpiper Vacations if you're going on a vacation. Tell them that the No New Friends podcast sent you. But check out Diz His. It's Diz His pod on all social media. Check out the Black Lincoln Collective podcast. Don't wreck yourself. At Ashes to Awesome. Big Beautiful Diz, who I forgot to mention last week. Sorry, Dean. Studio 21, the baseball podcast. Remy's Roundtable with the Podfather himself. Nerd Archive with Sarah's husband Lewis, where they talk about all things nerdy. You can also check out Sophisticated Gentleman on Remy's Roundtable. Do you go by Sophisticated Gentleman on Remy's Roundtable?
I go by Ryan.
I go by everything, honestly.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't even know his own name anymore.
You could check out someone who sounds like the Sophisticated Gentleman on Remy's Roundtable. And then you could check out Game Master Ryan every week here on the No New Friends podcast when we do Jersey Man, Florida Man. We will have regular shows back next week. Chris won't be here, but the Ryan and Sophisticated Gentleman will be filling in. We'll do our regular bits, Chris's Cliff Notes, because Ryan's going to do that. Spoiler alert. And then Jersey Man, Florida Man, Sophisticated Gentleman Call, all that good stuff. But you can connect with us. All of our social media links, they're right there on our website, nonewfriendspodcast.com. While you're there, join our Patreon so you can watch these things as we record them live, and you can win great prizes like a Bubba Job trading card. And it's as low as $2 a month. Check out our sweet merch, all that good stuff. On behalf of Game Master Ryan, the Sophisticated Gentleman, our producer Alex, Sarah, Chris, Mary, I'm Scott. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.